Computer. Here we go. So today we'll be looking at the Bodhicharyavatara 635. Before we go on, I have a defective note of where we had reached on the Bhagavad Gita the last time we were doing Bhagavad Gita. Had we reached the end of chapter 2, verse 16? I can't remember. Is there anybody who can?
I'll go and check my notes and come back to you.
That would be helpful, Madeline, because I'm going to make a note of it for my next class email.
James, according to my notes, we did get to chapter 2, verse 16, but whether we completed it or not, I can't remember.
Okay, fine. So what we look sensible then, if next time round we kind of start at 2:16, and if you already know it, fine. So let's look at what does your note say, Madeline?
So we stopped at 2:15. Yeah.
We stopped.
I mean, you did 2:14, and we have to start 2:16 as a new one.
Okay, right. So this that this coincides with what Chris was just saying.
Yes.
Great. So that's what we'll do. We'll start then at to 2:16 when we come back to the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes. Yes.
Good. So now we're looking at Bodhicharyavatara 635, which I should now read out slowly. Pramadat atmanatmanam badhante kantakadhibhi bhaktachedhadibhi kopad durapastriyadilipsaya. And again, Pramadad atmanatmanam badhante kantakadhibhi bhaktachedadibhi kopagdurapastriyadilipsaya. So I'll call up the shared screen. Okay, do you all have the shared screen, all right?
Yes.
Good, thanks. So it's talking about these people, just people of various kinds who do these things, who torment themselves, literally torment themselves by themselves through pramada. So it's from this badhante. It's an atmanepada verb, not badhanti, badhante. The original meaning was to press hard, and then by extension it came to mean to torment. So badhante atmanam. Now note that the word atma has the meaning of the Atman that we know, the Paramatman, the sense of anatta or anatma in Buddhist philosophy, the non-self. But remember also that this same word, atma, is used as a very ordinary reflexive pronoun, hurting oneself. So when here Atmana and Atmanam is used, it's nothing to do with the Hindu idea of the soul or the self. It's used purely as a reflexive pronoun. I hurt myself. So it's purely used as a kind of grammatical word there. Note also that when it is used in that way, even though the verb, yes, so welcome, Paula, even though the verb is in the plural, badhante, the reflexive pronoun atma, and here accusative atmanam, is always used in the singular, even though the actors, the doers, are in the plural. So in English, we say they torment themselves. In Sanskrit, they say they torment self, with exactly that same meaning. So Atma, self, in this context. The accusative Atmanam and the instrumental Atmana. So Badhante, they torment, Atmanam, self, themselves, Atmana, but by themselves. This just emphasizes there's nobody else doing it to them. They're doing it by themselves to themselves. And they are doing it pramadat. Now you're all probably very familiar with the word pramada or pamada in Pali. Is there anybody here who is not fully familiar with the meaning of the word pramada, Pali pamada? Did I observe a gesture from you and also from yourself, Paola?
I'm afraid so, yes.
Right. It is one of the most important words certainly in Buddhist practice, very much so among the Theravadins, but and a great deal also in the Mahayana schools. Some of you might remember I spoke to the summer school, Buddhist Society summer school some years ago. I think you were there on that occasion, Chris, when I said that this word pamada or pramada in Sanskrit could be one of the. In fact, if we had a poll or a vote, what was the most important single word the Buddha ever said? There could be. Difficult to say, okay, what was the single one word, but there would be a good case for arguing, putting it like a lawyer, that pramada, could win for first prize. And the reason I say that, it was that the very last words that the Buddha spoke, as recorded in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, that's the sutta about the last days and the physical death of the Buddha. The very last words that he is reported to have said, Vayadhamma Sankhara Madena Sampadeta. Then that is in Pali, appamadena, in Sanskrit, apramadena, with non-pramada. So appamadena sampadeta. So it was the second last word that he said. And it would have been the very last word, save that even as he lay dying, he was still observing the rules of Pali syntax and grammar, so he put the verb last. If he'd been speaking with an English word order, it would have been his very last word. So sampadeta, often translated as strive on, make it happen, appamadena with appamada. So it's often translated as pramada, Pali pramada, often translated as intoxication or heedlessness, carelessness. It's a little bit more than that. I'll just call up iPad. It's pretty much the opposite of mindfulness, though it's slightly narrower in focus. Oops, let me get the. quite sure. I've got this little device here saying a device that comes to help me when I don't need it. Okay, here we are. The root is mud, and I'll spend a few moments on this because it is actually very central and important. And it's the idea, mud in Sanskrit, and same in Vedic, has the idea of kind of exuberant joy. Let me just I'll call up Moni Williams here. To rejoice, be glad, and to boil and bubble, to gladden, exhilarate, intoxicate, inspire. So the idea of that root is the kind of exuberant joy, bubbling over with joy. With the prefix pra, the idea is kind of like rushing forth with joy. And then by extension, any kind of strong emotion, the idea within it is getting carried away by a strong feeling of desire or aversion, that is, in Pali, pramada. It may well be, by the way, that this root could well be cognate with our English word mad. So the idea, the balance of your mind is disturbed by strong emotion of desire or aversion, whatever strong emotion it may be, anger, and you get carried away, you lose the mindfulness, you lose your ability to pause and act wisely. That is pamada. So the Buddha's last words were that we should say that the reason it has my vote for being his most important word, because it was the single word that he used generally for the way we should live our lives, was with pamada, with non-pramada. So it makes its verbal noun with that prefix with pramada, and the Pali, as usual, it just becomes pamada. And the opposite of it, just put the a in front, apramada, and in Pali, as usual, double the p, apamada. So they do all these things to themselves. Where are we? Lost my text. There we are. This is the ablative form, pramadat, literally out of pramada, and it's the ablative of cause here. In English, we use the same kind of thing. If you are acting out of anger, for example, in exactly the same way in Sanskrit, you use the ablative form pramadat, out of pramada, because of the pramada that they're in. Badhante, they torment, atmanam, themselves, singular, atmana, by themselves. How do they do it? Gantakadhibhi. Gantaka is a thorn. The word adi means beginning. So when you have a noun followed by adi, the word adi functions in exactly the same way that we say etc. in English, etc. and other things. So they torment themselves with thorns, etc., thorns and other things. The explanation of the use of the word adi to mean etc. is that they torment themselves with kantakadipi, so kantaka adi, thorn beginning, meaning with a list of things, the beginning one, the first one of which is thorns. So thorns is the first one in the list. The list begins with thorns, and then it's just then etc. and other things. We have exactly the same phenomenon in the second line. So kantakadipi, this is the instrumental plural. So where you have the word adi to mean etc., you'll always find that it's declined in the plural because it invariably, when you get noun or a series of nouns followed by adi, it's always in the plural. So the plural ending, the plural declensional ending, is applied to the word as a whole. So we'd say with thorns, etc., with thorns and other things. Sanskrit kantakatipi.
James, don't you think it's a bit odd that it's tormenting themselves with thorns? Why thorns? I would rather suspect in that context it would be thoughts, their thoughts, rather than thorns.
Okay, I do entirely take your point, because I mean, looking back on my own life, and I suspect I'm not alone, I have tormented myself much more with thoughts than with thorns. But here it looks as if it is possibly a reference to those rather severe physical self-mortification, self-flagellation, tormenting yourself with thorns, and putting yourself through physical torment, which was not uncommon practice years and years ago in India.
Yeah, I was put in mind of the crown of thorns.
It still goes on.
And so what was that, Kath? Go on.
I said I think it still goes on. There are still sects that have a lot of self-mortification in India.
There are. You're absolutely right. I mean, there are. It hasn't entirely died out. So I'm fairly sure, Chris, that it is meant to be taken literally here. I mean, in Sanskrit, it is. There's not a. It's not a. It's not a misprint or anything. And in Kantaka in Sanskrit is just unambiguously a thorn.
Yeah.
So it does refer. I'm virtually certain I'm right in saying that it does refer to physical self mortification.
Yeah.
And as Kath said, I mean, you still see it going on, and you among certain of the Shiites, you have the ceremony of the Ashura, where they do self-flagellation. You have some, I mean, even in the lives of the Christian saints, you do have examples of physical self-mortification. Can't remember who it was now, one who every morning used to throw himself naked into a bed of nettles.
Well,
anyway, it's certainly not a misprint for thoughts, Chris. And the Sanskrit definitely does say kantaka, which is thorns.
Yeah, I didn't think it was necessarily a misprint, but more meant perhaps metaphorically. Thorns representing thoughts in the context of mindfulness and heedlessness.
Okay, I certainly take your point, though. Shantideva, generally speaking, and if he wants to say something, he comes out with it direct.
Right. Okay.
So I do feel. I mean, this is open to further discussion if any of us find out more. But I'm pretty confident that he is referring to physical self-mortification.
I would like to add, it's right what you are saying, because it's confirmed in the context of the verse that this person that is making these sacrifices is 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 avoiding to eat. Bhakta
That's right, yes.
So the context is very clear that it's a question of thorns and a question of food.
Exactly so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, not only do we have the evidence of the word itself, but the surrounding evidence of the of the general context.
Yes.
So this so here we have the Bhakta Cheda Adibhi. Here we've got the same Adi. So with what Bhakta Cheda, Bhakta, meaning, in fact, it's from the root Bhaj, from which we get Bhaga, Bhagavan, Bhagava, Bhagavantam. From Bhaj, the original meaning of the root Bhaj was to divide or to share out. The past participle, Bhaj plus ta, becomes Bhakta, that which is shared out. And then by extension, that means food. So it doesn't literally mean food, it means that which is shared out, and by extension, food. So there's a cheda, literally means to cut, or the root chid is to cut. Verbal noun cheda. So bhakta cheda, literally food cutting, which is cutting out your supply of food, or cutting off your food.
Yeah. So whichever way you slice it up, James, it does seem like these guys have got quite a few problems.
Yes. So yes. So they torment themselves, Kantakadivi, with thorns and such like, and similar and the like, or etc. Bhakta Chedadibi, and with cutting off food or stopping eating, and so on. The adi, so on. Remember again here, this is the instrumental plural, adibihi, or and such like things and such like doings. Gopad. Again, this is the ablative of cause, from anger, out of anger. And they also torment themselves, and here we do get to kind of creating your own mental torments. Durapastriyadilipsaya. This is distinctly from the desire to win. It's from the root lab, meaning to get, obtain. This is a very common verb. And it makes slightly irregularly, it makes a desiderative form, lipsati, verbal noun lipsa, meaning the desire to get. So lipsa, nominative lipsa, instrumental lipsaya. This is the regular instrumental form of feminine nouns in lipsaya, through the desire to obtain what? Durapastri adi. So literally difficult to obtain women, adi, and such like. So they torment themselves over the desire for women that they cannot have, and so on. So this is this covers everything from a wide range of human self-torment, from physically lying on beds of thorns or nails, to tormenting yourselves over your unrequited love.
James, can I ask something, please?
Yes, please do, Paola.
So the word bhakti, which is like bhakta, but with an I at the end, does it come from the same root, and does it follow sort of a similar narrative for its meaning?
There was something in my mind I knew I needed to mention. I couldn't remember what it was. Thank you for reminding me, Paola. The answer actually is no. There are two separate roots. Let me just call up Monia Williams. There are two separate homonyms. The root bhaj. Now, actually, I thought they were separate roots. They're the same one, according to Monia Williams. Let me just check in Whitney. It's a root that, hang on, let me just, I've been caught out here. No, it's the same root. So the original meaning of bhaj is to divide or share out. And it makes a verbal noun, bhaga. I'll just show it to you briefly. So from the root bhaj makes the verbal noun bhaga, which means literally a share or a portion. And by extension, like a divine share of blessing or something. So by extension, a blessing, that which is given to you as your lot. In almost like what's given to you as your fate, but it is generally in the form of a kind fate. The older among us will remember a word we used to use, I think it's more or less disappeared from English, which via Arabic actually I explain the word kismet, Kismet, which came into English via the Turkish form, kismet, which means one's fate or one's lot. But that actually comes from the Arabic qisma, from the verb qasam, meaning to divide. So in other words, the good and evil is being shared out, and this is your qisma, this is your share of it. Then in that context, it was translated as one's fate. So the same idea as the Arabic qisma that comes into English via Turkish as kismet, and the Sanskrit and Pali bhaga is that same idea, one's lot or one's share in life, though in the context, in the Indian context, it pretty much always means a generous share, a share of blessing. And that's how we get the word Bhagwan, Bhagavantam, which was often translated in a Buddhist context as the blessed one, the Bhagavan, is he who has a great share. The idea is almost rather Jewish. You receive, or Kabbalah, or you receive in order to give. So that is the root meaning of bhaj. Now back to Paula's very correctly asked question, that root, so to divide, to grant, and also then by extension, it's rather curious extension, it means to resort to something, to make use of it, and by further extension, to devote yourself to somebody or something. And here we get to the meaning that Paula was referring to, because we have from bhaj, in that meaning, we have the verbal noun bhakti, which in that context, now in that form, means devotion. You have bhakti yoga, for example, the yoga of devotion, and a bhakta. So now we have bhakta in its two separate meanings. One which is meaning that which is shared out, namely food, and the other meaning a bhakta, somebody who engages in bhakti, who engages in devotions towards a certain deity. So it is one of these polysemic roots.
Excellent, thank you. Just a question on Bhagavan.
Yes.
What about Bhagavat?
Okay.
And Bhagavate?
Bhagavate.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate.
So, Namo in Pali is Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. In Sanskrit, you say Namastasmai Bhagavate Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya. Right. We have the, let me call up the, by the way, you all understood when I said it's a polysemic root, hopefully. I know Paula did because it's Paula's native language. Polysemic, meaning having many meanings. So, a root of multiple meanings. Now, we have the suffix vant. That's the stem form. And it is added to a noun to mean possessed of or endowed, just having something. Alternatively, months. They both have exactly the same meaning. Just learn now that if let's look at bhaga, meaning that one's share or one's portion, the blessing that you have been allotted. Bhagavant means one who has a great share, one who has a great portion. By implication, one who has a great portion of kind of spiritual enlightenment or some kind of divine endowment, you have the portion, and it's the double meaning here. Not only have you received it, but it flows through you. You've received it and you give it out. You have received the blessing and you are a channel for blessing to others. Grammatical note here, if the noun to which it is added ends in an a or an a, then you use the vant form. If it's any other vowel, you use the mant form. For example, buddhi. The buddhi, it's from our root buddha, from which we get Buddha, but buddhi in that form just means in intelligence. And if you are buddhimant, just means you are intelligent. Chakshu means the eye. If you are chakshumant, means you possess an eye, meaning by extension you're seeing, you're wise. Now, a bit of grammar here. Bhagavant, that's the stem form. The nominative singular, masculine nominative singular, is Bhagavan. You lengthen the a and drop that t of the stem, so Bhagavan. And in modern Hindi, they pronounce it dropping this a. They wouldn't pronounce it. They just say Bhagwan, so which is the highly respectful modern Hindi and other languages of, in fact, probably all over India. Meaning it's a highly respectful term of address for a spiritual teacher. In Pali, what happens is the N drops out for the nominative. So in Pali, it is Bhagava. Bhagavan in Sanskrit, Bhagava in Pali. Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho. The accusative, we have the stem form back, the full stem, strong stem, Bhagavantam. Accusative. And it's identical in Pali.
So would you use Bhagavan for a spiritual teacher, like you would use Prabhu or whatever? Or is it? I thought it was more for a divine person.
In modern India, the answer is yes.
Okay, so you
But
can say
it's where the bhaktas, where the devotees, here back to the bhakta, where they're bhaktas, so rather elevating the teacher to a divine status. Quite a well-known phenomenon in India. So it certainly elevates them. To call somebody Bhagwan certainly elevates them among the human, above the human status. And sometimes the word is just used in ordinary modern Hindi to mean God. So actually, once I was visiting a friend of mine years and years ago, back in 1967 now, in Kanpur in the Ganges Valley. I'm sitting out on the balcony of their flat, and a monkey just leapt onto the balcony, stole a banana, and nipped off again. And I thought it might be somebody's escaped monkey, so I naively asked, "Well, kiska bandar hai? You know, whose monkey is that?" And he looked at me as if I'd asked a silly question. And he replied, "Bhagwan ka hai? It belongs to God," meaning it was a wild monkey. Bhagwan ka hai. Now back to Paula's question. Let's look at the dative. Sorry, let's look at the instrumental. Note here in the singular, the NT form appears only in the accusative. It becomes the weak form in the remaining cases. So Bhagavata is the instrumental form, same in Sanskrit and Pali. In Pali, we chant Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo, well proclaimed by the Blessed One, is the Dhamma. Now let us look at the dative, which Paula just correctly stated, Bhagavate. So the A form is in the consonantal declension, singular, is the dative form. So remember, in Pali, the dative and the genitive have become pretty much merged. The dative has almost disappeared and is replaced by the genitive form, even though it still has a dative meaning. In Sanskrit, the dative and the genitive forms are kept separate. Oops. Sorry,
does dative form refer to deities?
I'm sorry, say again?
What does dative form mean?
It means just basically two or four. Yeah, so for instance, in Pali, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa, the forms Bhagavato Arahato Sambuddhassa are dative / genitives. It means homage to the Blessed One, homage to the Arahant. So the homage to that Blessed One, Pali Namo Tassa Bhagavato, but in Sanskrit, Namastasmai Bhagavate. It will be, I think, very advisable to do some memory refreshing. In fact, this applies to the Pali students and to the Sanskrit students on the consonantal declension. I have actually, quite some time ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I did a video on it. I'll check to see whether I still think it's adequate, or otherwise I'll do a new one. Well, anyway, once I've got the material together, I will even set it to you as homework. Yes. I'm glad to see the expressions of delight appearing on some faces before me. Oops, this has changed color. The genitive in Sanskrit is bhagavataha. The aha ending is the standard form of genitive singular ending in the consonantal declension. And in Pali, what happens when you get an ending in ah in Sanskrit, it almost invariably turns up as an o in Pali. That's point number one. Point number two is the dative and genitive forms are mostly merged in Pali to become the same as the genitive, and that's how in Pali Bhagavato comes to mean either of the Blessed One or to the Blessed One. So, for example, when we say Namo Tassa Bhagavato, homage to that Blessed One, but Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho means well practicing is the Savaka Sangho, the community of disciples, Bhagavato of the Blessed One. So actually, yes, the more I sit here explaining this, the more I am convinced that some proper methodical homework on the consonantal declension is needed, and it will be attended to in the not distant future.
Oh dear, are you going to test us on that, James?
I'm just wondering, maybe I'll do something slightly more subtle than an actual crude test. That it'll just be worked into your understanding of when I'm asking you about the text, you see. And if you fumble over something, I'll carefully devise a secret way of devising the questions, so to catch you out if you haven't done the homework. So, do you remember that from your homework? Nothing so crude. It will be a much more subtle way of doing it.
That's even scarier.
You won't even know it's happening until I pounce. Um, so,
James, Bhagavataha, that's also the ablative, isn't it, in Sanskrit?
it is also the ablative, I missed it out here, dative, ablative, genitive. You will find that in the consonantal declension, the ablative and the genitive are identical. In fact, in many forms of the declension, singular declension, ablative and genitive are identical. In the declension, of course, it's not. So as we've just seen, for example, kopa, that's a word we've just been looking at here. So kopat, which becomes kopad by sandhi, and pramadat, these are ablative forms, whereas the genitive forms would be pramadasya and gopasya. So note that in the declension, they are always distinct, the asya and at endings. In the consonantal declension, they have identical forms, and you just have to know by context which is which. So,
is the vocative something different? Is it? I'll go on.
the Bhagwan, I think the vocative in this case is the same as the nominative. Here, Bhagwan, yeah, remember, I can't.
We can look it up for our homework.
Looking at here, and that vocative Mahan. It's short. Sorry, I was wrong. It's short. It would be strictly speaking. The vocative would be Bhagavan. The Bhagavan would be. I'm looking at Matt Donnell at the top of page 43 here. So same for the Vant and Mant, nominative singular, Bhagavan, Buddhiman. And if you want to say, oh, wise one, you say Buddhiman. Oh, Bhagavan, you say Bhagavan. So just shortening the N. And it's known as a changeable stem because in some forms it's got the NT together, but in most of the forms it's just what we call the weak form. The N drops out and you just get the T there. But no, some of these forms, as I just mentioned, are identical in Sanskrit and Pali. So Bhagavantam, accusative, Bhagavata, instrumental, are identical in Sanskrit and Pali. And the root, by the way, lips are the root lab, meaning to get. Paula, you will be very familiar with the root lab, to get, won't you?
I am still thinking.
Elinica lamveno and elava.
Yes,
Yes, it's the lamveno. Lambano would be pronounced in classical Greek, and I have got is elava. In classical Greek, it would be elabon. In modern Greek, we it elabon. And some of you may have seen one of these online payment systems called elavon. That, in fact, is the classical Greek for I have received. But they've actually used the modern Greek pronunciation of a v rather than a b. But it's that same root that is lab to receive. And it comes into Latin as well as labor, laborare, labor, which we have in English as labor. It's from that same root. So in Sanskrit and Pali, and also in Greek, it has the meaning of receiving or getting, whereas the meaning has changed somewhat in Latin, and the meaning has come to be the work that you have to do in order to get something. So from getting, Sanskrit, Pali, and Greek, lab, lab, to working to get in Latin. So where you see labha, elava in Greek, lamveno, and labor in English, they all come from that same root. Another word for to obtain, another root is ap. Just call up. So that's the durapa means difficult to obtain. As we know, the prefix dur, also duch and dush, same word changing by Santhi. Dur generally means bad or unpleasant, but it also has the meaning of difficult or lacking in something. For example, we have bala, meaning strength. Durbala means weak, doesn't mean bad strength, means lacking in strength, weak. Ap, to obtain, verbal noun, ap, so durapa, difficult to obtain. We also have the word durlabha, with roughly the same meaning. The poets, the writers will talk about human birth being durlabha, difficult to obtain. You can't rely on coming back to a human rebirth. Durlabha, rare, difficult to get. So this root up, let's call up. and it makes the verbal noun apa, getting, so durapa, difficult to get. By the way, it comes into Latin as as in, for example, opulent, one who has gained much. So the word meaning opulence, meaning riches, it's from that same root. So we'll have a couple of recitations of this. I'll just read it through slowly once more.
Yeah, James, sorry, can I just have a very quick question?
Please.
I've recently come across this, I think it's a central idea in Islam, of fitra, the innate primordial human nature. It's often described as factory settings of purity and goodness.
I'm sorry, it's
fitra. It's the central idea in Islam. I've only recently come across it. Fitra.
Fitra, yes.
Yeah. It's innate primordial human nature. Some people refer to it as the factory settings of purity and goodness created by Allah in every individual. I've been puzzling about this over the past few days. I'm not sure there's anything similar in Buddhism as such. This notion of fitra, primordial goodness of human nature.
Does fitra means one's essential nature. By far the greater part of the Arabic language work I've been doing for the last 60 or so years, 50 or so years, 77 I started the translation, has been in legal work. And there are very few legal documents, if any, that I've come across, which discuss the primordial pure nature as created by Allah. It's mostly much more boring legal stuff. So I'm a little bit rusty on fitra, but I think you're right about that. Are you familiar with the term, Madeleine? The fitra. I just seem to remember it from my undergraduate and Sufi studying days, about the primordial good nature. But I'm shaky. Madeleine, please come in. You're muted, Madeleine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My Arabic is not good. I didn't have a good Arabic education. The only thing I can say in the slang Arabic Egyptian, fitr is to have a breakfast. That's what comes to my mind.
I am going to look at it now. Okay, I'm going to explain that. Okay. So.
And al-futur in Ramadan, it means after the fasting.
Yeah.
There is the futur.
You have seen what I have written there.
Yes.
Fitra and fitra. We have you see, my pen's going funny again. In Arabic, we have the pen's going out again. Sorry. In Arabic, we have this first one.
Yes.
That's the ta, the dental ta. Yes. And the other one is a pa. Yes. Now the iftar and fitra, meaning the meal that you have at sundown in Ramadan, that's written with the pa, fitra.
Okay.
Whereas the fitra, meaning pure human nature, which is this one here, is written with the pins playing up again. Sorry, is written with the ta. So to the Arabic here, they're two entirely different sounds, the ta and ta, as you know.
Yes.
Yeah. As in taba, taba. So again, the slight confusion over that can be caused to foreign speakers and listeners because there's two different T's in Arabic. So I'll look up a little bit more about. I won't do it now. I've got some very fine ancient works of Arabic reference here, but I won't take your time with it now. But I'll refresh my own memory on the subject before next time. So pramadādatmanam badhante kantakadhibhi bhaktachedadibhi kopadurapastriyadi lipsaya. This striadi here, by the way, it's a monosyllable. It is stri. And when by regular sandhi, actually I should have changed it here. So the stri adi with sandhi becomes striadi, which is regular sandhi. So Barry, do you feel inclined to give us a recitation of this verse?
I will do my best, thank you. Pramadādatmanatmanam badhante kantakadibhi bhakta chedadibhi kopadurapastriyadi lipsaya.
That was a very creditable attempt. This this verse does contain a few tongue twisters, as you'll have seen. Very nice attempt, Barry.
Thank you.
Anne, would you like to come in?
Pramadat atmanatmanam badante kantakadhipi bhakta cheda dibhi kopad dura pastriyadi lipsaya.
You say durapastriyadi lipsaya.
Dura pastriyadi lipsaya.
Very good. Yes, right. Also, I don't blame you that this phrase here, this sequence, pramadādatmanatmanam, say atmanatmanam.
Atmanatmanam.
Okay, right. So what we have here is we have, just as we have been looking at the consonantal declension, with Bhagavant, Bhagavan, Bhagavantam, and so on, Atman similarly, I just do not know, it's always in the second half of these sessions, I don't know if the pen gets tired or overheated or what, but it only partly works. So, Atman.
Can we see the iPad, please?
Thank you, thank you. So, Atman, it is, it's a masculine noun. A masculine noun ending, and it's a consonantal stem noun. So the stem ends in the n. So Atman is the stem. And with masculines ending in stem an, the n drops out in the masculine. So Atma. So when people talk about the Atma or the Atman, if they say neither is wrong, if they say the Atman, they're using the stem form. If they say Atma, they're using the masculine singular form. Now, in the so this is really playing me up now. Come on. Please give me Okay, that was an accident. That happens to be my son when he was visiting a while ago, and I was looking after somebody else's dog. Incidentally, my son, who personally just this morning completed his final medical exam at Sheffield. He'll have his results. Sure.
That's fantastic.
Congratulations
Well
to him.
done. He looks
Well,
a bit
he's
like
done
me.
the exam. He doesn't know the results yet. Let me try and get back to where we ought to be rather than boy with dog. Okay. Now the iPad really is playing up because you see these odd lines here. Don't know why it does this. Normally we start off and it's working perfectly. Let's try again. So, okay, do not say rude words. It is undignified, unbefitting an 80-year-old Sanskrit teacher and meditation teacher, an ex-lawyer. Don't do it. Okay. I'm just trying to get back the. I don't know why it's gone so thick. I tried to make it thinner, but it won't go. So, stem Atman, nominative Atma, accusative Atmanam. Notice that the R is lengthened. Instrumental, it goes back to being more normal. Stem form plus R, Atmana, Atmana, which is what we have in this verse. But by oneself, but by themselves. By the way, this word Atma, often translated, very loosely translated as the soul, the self. The idea is it's the breath of life. In Greek, atmos, and of course the atmosphere, and when we use the atmosphere, the atmo of atmosphere is the same as the etymologically the same as the atman. So the atmosphere is the sphere of breath, literally. So back to where, oops. So yes, Anne, I was just going to come back to you to ask you to try once more this. Okay, I appreciate it's a bit of a tongue twister, but say pramada datmanatmanam badhante.
Pramadatmanam badante.
Okay, do it first of all, making the four words separate in the expanded pramadat, atmana, atmanam badhante.
Pramadat atmana atmanam badante.
But note here now, it's just a peculiarity of the consonantal stems in an, that in the masculine ones, that in the accusative it lengthens, so atmanam, which is a regular accusative, whereas the instrumental is back to being short as the stem. So atmana, atmanatmanam, atmanatmanam.
Atmanam.
Okay, you got it there. You got it there, Anne.
Okay. Thank you.
So Madeleine, would you like to have a go at it?
Yes. Pramadatmanam. Okay, I start again. Pramadatmanatmanam badhante kantakadibihi bhaktachedadibihi kopad dur apastrayadi lipsaya.
Okay, very good. There's in this you put a slight little I, the striadi. But it's actually in Sanskrit it would be heard as a series of consonants striadi. It's a strong temptation to put a little I in there.
Yes.
But striadi. Yeah. Whereas in fact even modern Hindi speakers would pronounce it sticking a little I there. But strictly speaking, durapastriadi lipsaya.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Madeleine.
Thank
you. Shriyanimala, round to you.
Pramadat atmanatmanam badante kantakadibihi bhakta chedadibihi kopa durapaskriyadi lipsaya.
Can you say durapastriyadi lipsaya?
Yeah, durapastriyadi lipsaya.
Okay, I notice in fact that you are also inserting a little E there, striadi, which I think is also natural to the phonetics of your language as well. And don't worry, it's natural to the phonetics of Sinhala. It would also be natural to the phonetics of modern Hindi. And of course, the ancient Pali speakers, they wouldn't say stri at all. They change it to itti. In Hindi, the word stri exists in kind of modern Sanskritized Hindi, stri. But the Hindi speakers find it very difficult to pronounce stri, so they pronounce it istri. And sometimes even they will write it stri, but will say istri, and sometimes even they write istri as well. So don't worry, it can be difficult for some because we've trained the muscles of our vocal organs to move in certain ways all this time, and it gets a little bit stuck. So Chris, we're on to you. Thank you, Shiramala.
Pramada Atman Atmanang Atman Atmanang Bad Anti Kata Kanta Ka DB Bhakta Cheda DB Kopa Dugra Pastriya, that's do Apastri Lipsaya.
Okay, now just try pronouncing this compound with dur apastri lipsaya. Pronounce the words separately.
Do apa striyadi lipsaya.
Okay, so all of the individual components came out very well. Now the trick is to try to run them together. Durapastria da 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 da. Durapastriadi lipsaya.
Duapastradi adi lipsaya.
Okay, it's very helpful if you know the rhythm of it. Da da durapastriadi lipsaya. If you've got the kind of
lipsaya.
That's why often we find it much easier to sing things because we were helped. The tune, the music carries us along. If you could, as we're about to hear from Kath now, if you can carry along with the music and the melody of it, that does actually make it much easier. Okay, thank you, Chris. Kath, may we now have the Brahmanical musical version of it.
Ramadatmanatmanam Badante Kantrakadivihi Bhaktachedadibih Gopad Durapastya.
Wonderful. And I'm going to ask you to note, I'll ask you to do a little bit more of that in a moment, Kath. You notice that Kantakadibi, when you're chanting it, so when you're just saying it in prose, we get this visarga at the end, and you have a shadow vowel. Adibhi, the ihi. When you're chanting in the way that Kath has just been doing, sometimes that shadow vowel can even be pronounced as if it were a long vowel in its own right. So can you just, I'll ask Kath to chant the verse again, but note in particular the shadow vowel at the very end. So could you do it again, Kath?
Ramadatmanatmanam Badante Kantrakadivihi
Sorry,
Bhaktachedadibih.
okay,
Just the first line.
pause that there for a moment. So what I was inviting you to listen now, the Kantadibihi, so in chanting, it came out long, which you wouldn't do in prose. Now, I'll ask Kath to do the second line, and here, first time round, and correctly, Kath pronounced it without a shadow vowel because it wasn't at the end of a word group, it's immediately before gopat. So notice in the second chanting, there will be no shadow vowel there. The I will merge straight into the G, which Kath correctly did once and will do again. Thank you, Kath. The floor is yours. La parole est à vous.
Bhaktachedadibih Gopad Durapasvyadilipsaya.
Exactly. Excellent. Very good. Thank you, Kath. And before we wind up then, Paula, do you feel inclined? Okay. You're muted, Paula. There we are.
Pramadadatmanatmanam badante kantadibihi bhakta chedadibi kopad durapastriya dilipsaya.
Okay. That was pretty good. Just a little bit more distinction between the short vowels and the long vowels. So just do this first part, the pramadadatmanatmanam. Pramadadatmanatmanam.
Pramadadatmanatmanam badante.
Okay, very good. Wonderful. So you are all making excellent progress, which delights my heart. Okay, so we're on to just gone 3 now. So I will thank you all for joining me, and
Thank you very much.
see you again
Thank
next
you,
time round.
James.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
James.
much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
James.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye then.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.